Hi, I'm
Hi,
Megan Lee,
and I'm Nicole Danielle.
and this is Romance on the Rocks, where two bookish biddies imbibe.
It is
Uh,
officially season 2. We survived our inaugural season. Hallelujah.
oh, God, barely. I feel like we're
Barely.
barely surviving. Not because of the season, because of, all the illness that came our way at the end of the year here.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The holidays were great up in Wisconsin, but then they kicked our butts.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Yeah.
So that
So,
being said, what are you drinking, Nicole?
drinking gingerade kombucha because my stomach is severely jacked up from the holiday season, and I'm just trying to get a reset going.
Yeah, and I have what had been a nice gin lemonade from the gin that you got me as a gift. I was
Oh,
going to
yeah.
be
Are
like,
you enjoying that?
yeah, it's lovely. Um,
Yay.
I this is not my best beverage in the world. It's been sitting for a while, so there's no ice cubes or anything. We're gonna make it work. I'm not full of enough energy to go make something else, so this is what we get.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, on our first episode of season 2, we are essentially just recapping our previous season and talking about our goals, plans, wish list items for 2025 as we further delve into the world of trashy romance.
So what are you thinking for your goals?
We talked a lot about cowboy Christmases.
Yeah.
I think when we hit that time of year, I would like to delve into a cowboy Christmas.
May I also suggest that you could do Christmas in July?
Ooh, I love that.
We might need to revisit, that season, even if just for one book in summertime. That might be kind of
Yeah.
fun.
I love that idea. We should totally do that. I have to follow up with you, Megan. Did you get around to watching a Hallmark movie this past season?
No, I
I tell
didn't.
you what, I watched two doozies. Hot
Ugh,
Frosty. It's as horrible as you think it is.
it sounds terrible.
And The Merry Gentleman, which was essentially like Magic Mike for the holidays.
Okay. I thought Magic Mike was holidays. You can see how much I watch movies. I have no idea. No, I didn't. I didn't even really get around to watching the Christmas movies I normally do. It just felt like a very
Yeah.
strange Christmas season this year. Also, I don't believe I got any really great recommendations. So I'm going to put that out there. If somebody wants to recommend a Hallmark movie that I should absolutely watch, I will do that out of season.
All right. It's
Yeah.
not too late. There's still a bunch on like Netflix and Hallmark
That is
Channel. And
true. Yeah.
yeah,
I could, make some room in my schedule for that, I
it's not too
suppose.
late for Hot Frosty.
Girl, that just sounded awful. No, thank you.
You're really missing out.
It's that misery loves company sort of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone should
Pass.
suffer through Hot Frosty. Pass.
I think for me, I'm also going to say goals for next year, if I can, bring it back to that, is my goal is to hit the full gamut of the Scoville scale. I do
Yeah.
feel like mine fall in the jalapeno range for the most part, and it would be nice to really broaden that. So I'm looking forward to, even though we covered quite the gamut, making that gamut even bigger. Like I would like to see a little bit more variety even in what we're reading.
I have yet to hit Carolina Reaper. I am waiting for the Carolina Reaper book.
I feel like we definitely have some in the queue that could hit that just based on what I've read on the back of the books. It's just a matter of us pairing those up and putting them in, in the running.
I keep hearing about fairy slut romance books, and I haven't hit one of those yet. Do you have one of those in your queue, Megan?
Oh, I do. I think that one will be coming up. Well, the first one, because there's more than one. I think the first one will be coming up in February, March. March, I think, is when we put that one in the running. So it's coming. It's coming. Yeah. It'll be exciting.
Very cool. Did you have any standout books for you over the last season?
Yeah. I think anybody who was listening recently knows it was my very last book of the season, and that was the one by Hatherley Bell, Charming Christmas Arrangement. I just love the way it was written. She's an excellent writer. I felt those characters were very well thought out. They felt real. I started a new Hatherley Bell book, which again has a baby.
Yeah.
So this one is This Baby Business. I'm not reading this for the podcast. I am just reading this because I wanna. And it was the only book by her that my library had. Like the entire library system. I had to order this in from, it doesn't tell me which library it came from, but my entire Nicolay system, one book. Ridiculous. I need to remember, though, that I'm not allowed to highlight this or bend pages because
you do love to dog ear and highlight.
Especially for the podcast. I wouldn't do that to my normal books. However, now most of what I've been reading has been for the podcast. So I keep my highlighters just sitting next to my chair. And I've already, in the first few pages here, went to grab for the highlighter. And I need to remember this is a library book. So I'm not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So just reading that one because that is one of my goals as well, is I really want to read beyond the podcast.
Yeah.
You and I discussed early on how reading in general had just kind of gone out the window at one point in time because you get so busy with life. You get busy with family and job and all your responsibilities, and reading feels like a luxury. I want to bring that luxury back into my world as part of self-care, and that means reading past what we're reading for the podcast. So looking forward to getting a few more books in the docket.
I want to hit some of the fairy slut stuff. I really love historical romances. I think it's important for me to push myself out of my comfort zone because I spent so much of my earlier years of when I was reading romance regularly of really just all historical romance. And I have to say, I have really enjoyed some of the modern ones. And I think I need to step out of that comfort zone and open myself up to other genres.
For sure.
Maybe not the inanimate object trashy romance.
I said that'll be me. I'll take that on. I just need to find the right one. I haven't found one yet, so
no,
I'm sure that'll happen. That'll happen. Or maybe I'll just have to write it.
Yeah. Are there any books from the past season, Megan, where you're like, I really could have lived without reading that?
Yeah. I what was the second one that I read? Nope, not the second one.
Kathleen Norris.
Heart of Nashville.
Heart of Nashville.
Yeah, it didn't really have much for me. You know what I mean? That it was definitely written by a man, and I would like to find a romance novel written by a man that I feel more connected to. I know that could be out there. This was not it. So, yeah I could leave that one behind.
Even with the mafia and all the excitement?
Yeah. I don't know that it was as exciting as it would need to be to keep me really that engaged. The thing it had going for it is it was a very small novel, so it was very quick to get through. So I'll give bonus points for not being very long.
Yeah.
But if that's one of the best things you can say about a book, it's not really saying
that it wasn't
much.
very long.
Yeah. Because I think my other books, even Heart in Nashville, I can always find something positive to say about the books. Like I said, when somebody puts their heart and soul on the page and they've invested their time and they've actually tried to put in effort, I don't want to be constantly pulling things down. It just wasn't my cup of tea, we'll say.
I honestly thought you were going to say that A Familiar Christmas was the one that you would have preferred not to have read.
No, that was... Yeah.
The Cat Detective. That was just...
No. You know why? Because that had the potential to be silly and fun.
Yeah.
And I wish it had been more silly. You know what I mean? It was walking a line where it couldn't decide if it was trying to be serious or if it was trying to be silly. And so it just didn't hit that sweet spot in between. Like it just couldn't figure itself out.
Yeah.
Had it picked one way or the other, I think I would have enjoyed it a lot more. If it was entirely campy, I would have been like, oh, that's what they were aiming for. Or if it was much more serious and they treated this detective as, I don't know, there's a lot of really great fantasy novels where you feel connected to the fantasy part of it. This just didn't seem to be able to do either one. So, yeah. Although our girl Melissa has checked out one of the familiar books and will be reading another one. So we should get a report from her. Yeah, we should get a report from her on if another one of these books maybe did a better job of.
I told you there's a familiar cat detective Valentine's one, but I know we're going in a different direction for February.
Yeah, I can't remember which one she said she checked out, but I'm gonna follow up with her and we can get a report. You know, maybe one of our first listener reports. Melissa, I'm giving you homework.
We need to hear all about Familiar the cat and his adventures.
Maybe we all need to read one of these and we can just get the whole series done. I can appreciate the concept. That's the thing. Is maybe that's why I can't call that my least favorite book. Is the concept is still a fun and good concept. I just didn't particularly care for the book itself.
I remember being so excited when you told me that you were going to be reading a book about a cat detective and the romance.
Mm-hmm.
I was expecting it to be more like the cat from Sabrina the Teenage Witch, who's kind of campy and sassy and smart alecky. And I think that would be hilarious if that had been more of the cat versus this weird cat. Didn't you say there was one part in the book where he was like checking out the girl's legs?
Yeah, and I think he was meant to be sassy and campy. I think he was meant to be. It just didn't land with me. And that might be, maybe somebody else would appreciate it more. Maybe that would hit somebody else's sense of humor in a different way and they would like it better. Because like I said, the concept was great. Yeah, just not my thing. And how about you? If you were to pick like a standout for your favorite and then maybe one that had some anchors tied to it that needed a little more buoyancy, what would you pick?
I think my absolute top favorite book of season 1. Excuse me. I think my absolute top favorite book of season 1 was the Stuffed, the Thanksgiving one.
I was going to say, you seemed to really jive with that book.
It was all the spice and fun and holiday funness that how many times can I say fun? It was a really fun book. I really enjoyed it. It was so realistic and down to earth, and it involved characters who were real to me, and I could see the romance going down like an everyday type of normal romance, and I just really connected with it. And Thanksgiving is my absolute favorite holiday, so it was awesome.
And the one that is falling to the ocean floor, like which one would you get rid of?
I could have lived without. I know, again, that Debbie Macomber is the Queen of Christmas and a well-loved romance novel author. She's not for me. And I barely survived reading 1225 Christmas Tree.
I wonder, though, because we discussed how that was kind of like a rehash of all the couples people had been introduced to previously, though. So I still wonder if you would do better with a different one of her books, like maybe a standalone that's not supposed to be part of a community, or one that's not supposed to be, I don't know, like rehashing all of these little, like, why can I never think of the word cameos, like cameos from all these other characters.
And we talked about that in relation to the Wallflower Christmas book that I read by Lisa Kleypas. And that one had cameos, if you will, by previous book characters. And I loved it. I felt drawn into it. I also will say that I think a lot of it had to do with the style of writing and the spiciness of Wallflowers. Mm-hmm. It has the spiciness that I prefer in a book, whereas 1225 Christmas Tree, like, I just don't think Debbie Macomber is spicy enough for me personally. I think if you love very wholesome, what word am I looking for here?
I think wholesome is perfect. It's more of a clean, light romance.
Yeah.
And again, there's a place for that. It just
Absolutely.
wasn't
I mean,
your
she's
book.
sold
Yeah.
millions of copies of her books, and she's had them made into movies and TV shows. So I absolutely respect the woman that Debbie Maycumber is. It's just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I really struggled to get through that book. I really
You know,
did.
we've said multiple times that we like when characters feel genuine, when they feel real, that we can connect to them. And we use the word real a lot, but I want to just make the distinction that I am not saying that from a non-fantasy standpoint, meaning I'm
Right.
still really looking forward to getting to like fairies and werewolves and
Yeah.
vampires, because I still
Vampires.
think that those characters can feel very real and very relatable if they are
Yes.
written in a way that, you know, just you can feel them. And so again, when I say real, I'm not saying I'm not up for, you know, a little bit of fantasy there. I'm excited for the fantasy.
Yeah. I know last year when we were book hunting, you found some real interesting like vampire type things. And I used to read Anne Rice a lot in my younger days.
Oh,
So
sure.
I'm excited for more of that romantasy fantasy section, fairies, vampires, what have you. Bring them on. I'm ready for it.
Absolutely.
There's been some really saucy werewolfy type books going around too that I've been getting told about from various friends and people I run into and have conversations about the podcast with. So I'm sure we'll probably touch on one of those too. I just want to make sure the quality of writing is there because...
And no, I know. We've got a couple, again, in the queue somewhere where I'm a little dubious about the writing already, just based on the back of the book. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. I'm almost thinking, and this may not come to fruition, I'm just throwing it out there. Something that I have thought about is bonus books, because I'm trying to read a little bit more than just what would normally be on the podcast. And we have picked up so many novels that getting through them is going to be nearly impossible if I'm saving them all. That if I see something that I feel like might fit in with our theme, I may just read a bonus book and then spring it on you at the last moment and be like, haha, and then let people know, did I like it? Did I not? Is it worth your time? And then I'll just leave it at that, like kind of a mystery. But we might end up with a few of those where I'm a little dubious. I might throw those in as bonus books because I hate to dedicate an entire night to something that might end up being true garbage.
Yeah, and I would love to have, like, you know, if Melissa makes it through a familiar book, maybe having her on as a guest and then having other potential listeners on as guests. And I have been reaching out to authors that we have enjoyed, and we're working on getting some guest authors on for the podcast. So that's pretty exciting for 2025.
Shall I say, successful in perhaps getting us someone soon. So
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm excited too. These people exist. They're real.
They're real people.
Yes.
I just want to quick show people something, because when we first started this podcast, we were not on video. And so I have described my books before, and I've described how I destroy them. And I just kind of wanted to give an example. This is Younger Sister. There's no back cover. The front cover's gone. Heart of Nashville, also super problematic. And I do a lot of highlighting. And I do feel as though if anybody ever wanted to borrow a book from me, they would be very disappointed, because most of them are looking a little gnarly after I've gotten to them.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to show people, oh, and this one's got a lot. I can never find my camera here. This one's got a lot of dog ears in it.
Yeah.
Because I got a dog ear on my pages. So this is what I do to books, you guys. I kill them.
Yeah.
I kill them.
There's so many Post-its in that one.
Yes. So
Allegra.
Which, didn't you say we were saying it wrong?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. How were we supposed to say it? Pellagra.
oh God, I can't remember, but I remember I heard it actually like said on a commercial. And what are the odds of that, by the way? Some obscure
Seriously,
disease
that's so weird.
that we've never heard of before. And then suddenly I'm like, no.
She's heard of it. Anyway, so yeah, I got to be good to my library book because I am not good to the other books we've had for this podcast.
Speaking of pellagra, however the heck it's supposed to be officially pronounced, and the corn deficiency, we encountered a surprising amount of food in season 1.
Yeah, and I would like to be better about documenting the food because I do think that food is such a thing that connects us as humans that you're going to find that where people are connecting over meals, connecting over, she baked cookies or, she owns a bagel shop or he's, the butcher down the street. I would be interested to see in each book if we can pick out like what was the standout food, because I do think that probably exists in every book.
Yeah. I would say with good old Daddy Montgomery in The Princess by Jude Devereaux, it was shrimp. There was a lot of shrimp.
A lot of shrimp. Go get those shrimp. Corn, shrimp, mashed potatoes. Yeah. What did you had some sort of bread pudding too? With like green tomato chutney.
Yeah, it was fruitcake and it was green tomato mincemeat, which I'm like,
oh, that's what it was.
Yeah. And that was in 1225 Christmas Tree Lane.
Mm-hmm.
And then in your Thanksgiving one, they got sexy over mashed potatoes.
Yep, they talked about the taters, and they sat at the table, and she got all hot and bothered. But that book was great for all of the consent.
Yes.
Again, probably not top of my list of all the books I've read, but there was a lot of consent. It was very sweet. I can't say anything bad about that.
No, it was a good read. I just find it so interesting. I don't know that it's necessarily random per se. I'm sure there's intent behind the foods that get mentioned. But yeah, you're kind of going through these books and you're like, that's a lot of shrimp. That's wow. Ooh, mashed potatoes. Va boom.
Who knew corn could be so sexy?
That was not sexy. Yeah, we should keep track of the food, I think.
I think that's a good one. I'm adding that to the list. Things we should really be paying attention to, because at the end of the year we could have a feast. We could set out a banquet, right? I think that'd be a good idea.
Or we could start adding on recipes to the website blog.
Oh, girl, I'm already adding recipes to the Pinterest if anybody's been paying attention. I don't know if you've even noticed. I've been adding recipes inspired by our books.
Oh, I have seen that, yes.
So we might be able to make a full feast, really.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah, for sure. We have been keeping track of favorite liners from the books to a certain degree. I'm not always hip and with it on it. There's not always great zing-zangers that come out of these books, but I actually have had people comment to me about the whole Daddy Montgomery thing from The Princess by Jude Devereaux. And I jokingly said during that episode, I think it was episode 2 of season 1, I jokingly said that I was going to start calling my husband Daddy Montgomery. Yeah, I have not.
Well, it's a new year. You can start now.
I did write him a Christmas love note as inspiration from the Wallflower Christmas book. So,
see,
and
that's
he appreciated
sweet. I like
it.
that.
Yeah. I'm totally utilizing the romantic reminders from the show.
Yeah. Romance is changing lives day by day.
Yes. Enhancing my romantical life at home.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so we talked about goals. What else we got going on?
Well, we started to shape up season 2. In February, we're kind of hitting on presidential stuff in honor of President's Day.
We're going political, you guys.
We're going political, but in a romantical way.
Books that involve politics and romance in some way, shape, or form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then in March, we're getting Irish and Scottish with it, and we've got some doozies on the list. I know you're particularly excited about one of the books.
I am, because it's what I mentioned in our very first episode, which is Karen Robard's Dark of the Moon, which is the quintessential romance novel in my head. It's the one that my mother had on one of her shelves, not because she was reading it, but because my grandmother gifted it to her, because the main character's name is my little sister's name. So this book sat on our shelf at home, and my little sister and I both read it way earlier than we probably ever should have. And so in my mind, that is like the romance novel. So I will be revisiting something I have not read since like 8th grade. So it's gonna be fun.
I'm
And
excited.
I feel like yours involves kilts, so that is
Yes.
also very exciting.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Love a man in a kilt personally, but
Exactly.
beyond that, yeah, I think we kind of just talked about we want to do some romantasy. We want to hit other genres this season. So as always, we invite our listeners to send us suggestions, email us, message us on one of our social media platforms. We are always open to suggestions and we love to get them.
Absolutely.
And if you guys have any ideas for the show too, anything you would like us to incorporate or expand on, we'd love to hear from you guys on that level too.
Well, thank you for joining us today for Romance on the Rocks. Please like, subscribe, follow, all the things. And if you are a hopeless romantic, fellow bookish biddy like we are, think about giving us a review on Apple iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you catch your podcasts. Your support really means the world to us. And until next time, we love you.